Hello and welcome to a second installation demonstration of KISS Linux. KISS Linux is an independent distro that has now been available on the pre-release since June 18, 2019, to fully become released 6 days later on June 24th, making it now available for more than 2 years at the time of this recording. To me, KISS Linux has an installation style like Arch Linux while compiling packages like Gentoo, with more simplicity in mind thanks to the exclusive package manager called KISS, which has been written completely in POSIX. This demonstration will show how this distro is installed by using the VmWare Workstation 16 Pro virtualization software with a VM that will use the UEFI firmware boot method and the latest Arch Linux Live Boot CD. This will allow to save approximately 4 hours to anyone who would like to try it themselves, since compilation time is edited for this video, plus all the extra time needed just to understand some components of the official documentation by either making clarifications on them or by making some minor modifications to help out the installation to become successful. Now, before we start, it is really important for me to mention the KISS Linux Reddit section, which is available for any support that you need. In my first video, a lot of people ask me some troubleshooting questions about how to fix their KISS Linux installation, and I always been redirecting them to this website. It is quite active, a lot of members, and it's pretty rare to have less than 5 people online at the same time. I myself go there to answer some questions sometimes, but really the YouTube comments is not a place for me to do some troubleshooting. It is better to put it there because I don't have all the answers, but together, normally somebody gets an answer. So I highly recommend, if you have any questions about installing KISS Linux, to go to this Reddit site. The installation instructions have changed since the last time that I did my video. It has been divided in many subsections that people have to really understand. If you check all the tabs that I have here on top, those are all the subsections that needs to be opened in order to have a successful KISS Linux installation. So I will go through all the sections. At the same time, it is really important to say that I have some stuff that I added myself a little bit differently to make things easier in the long run. So I will not follow 100% installation, but very close to it. The reason being is because I just feel personally that there are some stuff that could be done to make things a little bit easier. And I will explain that to you while I was doing the installation. So the first thing to do is to actually open the VmWare Workstation 16 Pro. And from here, I'm going to create a new virtual machine. Between the two options, I would like the custom, because if you choose typical, it will run some scripts for you, which I'm not interested. So I will choose custom. The latest hardware compatibility is fine. So from here, I will choose the latest Arch Linux boot CD. So for me, it's actually November 1st, 2021. The guest operating system, I don't have actually here, obviously KISS Linux, but not even Arch. So I will put the Kernel 5.0 here, because that's the one I will choose eventually. Now, the machine name will be KISS Linux. In terms of processor, on my first video, I did 2.1. Just make things a little bit faster for myself, I will put 2.2. But 2.1 is still okay if you want to do that. In terms of memory, 3 gig of RAM is fine. In terms of networking, the NAT is fine. Controller, LSI is fine. And SCSI is fine as well. I will create a new hard drive, and 20 gig is enough for this demonstration. And I will allocate all disk space now. That will make things a little bit faster during compiling. And next for the file name, and finish. So from here, I will edit the virtual machine settings because I don't have a printer. In terms of display, I like to have Accelerate 3D graphic and the stretch mode available. And then the most important part is that under options, if you go to advanced, I have to choose UEFI. Hopefully one day it's going to be that by default. But right now you have to put that every time. And now from here, I can start the VM. I just press enter. So the VM booted successfully. In order to install KISS Linux the easy way, I like to copy and paste the commands. That needs to be done. I don't want to type in manually every time. That's prone for errors. So in order to do that, I need to SSH into it. Now the SSH service already started. So really, there's nothing else to it except to set up a password for root. So I'll do PASSWD root and I'll put a password. And that's pretty much it. I need to know the IP, and the IP is 192.168.233.160. So I will rearrange all my windows in order to see that in SSH. I will be using a terminal sessions for my Windows 10 operating system. So everything has been rearranged. So I'm going to just click on my terminal here, and I'm going to do my SSH session. Yes. And I'm in. So I don't need this for now. So let's go with the installation. So let's scroll down a little bit. I'm not going to go through, everything that's written, but this one is actually important. And that's one of the things with KISS Linux is you need to read and understand both at the same time. It says that after booting with a live environment, logged in as root and connected to the internet, it is really important to set up your disks, partitions, file systems, and the disk should be mounted to /MNT, which is quite similar to Arch Linux. And then it tells you to make sure that you have your fstab file ready. I will give you a little bit of a shortcut on how to do that later on. But it doesn't tell you anything else. There's no wiki that tells you how to do that. So if you have experience with Arch Linux, Gentoo, stuff like that, that might be second nature. But if you don't, then it's kind of difficult what to do from here. So this demonstration is not the most optimal way of doing it, but definitely something that I use for my demonstrations that always work. If I go here, first thing I need to do is to identify the hard drives available. I have one here. It's dev SDA, my 20 gig one. So if I do fdisk dev SDA, first thing I need to do, because it's going to be a UEFI, you need to do a GPT partition. And then this might be a little bit fast, but let's go through this. So the first one would be 512 meg. And the second one will be my swap. And the swap is pretty much the amount of memory plus 1 gig. And the root partition. So if I print this off, I have my boot partition, 512 meg, my swap 4 gig, and the remaining is my root. Now the type here has to be identified. So let me just do that. I kind of know that by heart, so please bear with me here. Here we go. So the first one is identify as EFI, second swap, and the third one is the root. Now I have to format them. So FAT32 for my first partition. It is really important to be FAT32. The way the manufacturers have decided to do is to say as a default that the boot partition for UEFI is FAT32. The driver is included inside the firmware. If you decide to do something else, it will just not work, unless, of course, you decide to boot with a different disk, load up the drivers for, let's say, ext2, and then boot. There's no reason to do that. It's only a boot partition. It's only to boot. And after that, you got to really go into your root partition and do whatever you want with the right file system. So there's no really point of doing that. Just keep it as FAT32. Always remember that that's the default and it just works. So it's formatted. So now I have to do my swap and activate it. And then for the root partition, again, for this demonstration, I'm going to use ext4. ext4 is the default one when you compile a kernel. So it's just easy. Like I said, not optimal, it's just easy. So everything has been formatted. So now for here, I have to mount everything. So let's mount the root. And then I have to make a folder for my boot. And let's mount the boot. Now it's all done. And now I can move forward with installation. Like I said, the reason why I do all this is to copy and paste all the instructions. So to install KISS, we need to download the tarball and extract it to mount with those 3 variables. Highlight, right click, copy, click on my window, paste by just right clicking, and that's it. Enter. We'll do that with the rest. Those 3 variables have been declared. I can download the installation tarball, which contains the base system minus the bootloader in kernel, just enough for the system to rebuild itself, build any other required packages. So it's telling you everything that it's going to be installed. So let's download with curl. Verify the checksum. This is, here it says recommended. Personally, I think it should be mandatory. It will test if your file is corrupted. You have to believe me when I tell you that a corrupted tar file can be extracted successfully, but there's some files that just won't work. Nothing is worse is to spend 4 hours in something and then it just doesn't work at the end because there's one file corrupted. So it is worth it to just those 2 liners and verify that the download has been successful. We know that it is okay. We have to verify the signature. So the signature, it's a step above the corruption because it might be okay here and the file is not corrupted, but you just downloaded from a different source, meaning that somebody else signed this and that's not really what you want, right? So if you go here, you download this, you download the key. That takes a couple of seconds. And then it's time to verify. Now, it's really important to say that it's been imported successfully, but when you verify, it says, yep, it's a good signature, but the key hasn't been certified with trusted signature. That's fine. I get it. But the most important part is to say that it is a good signature from the person that you really want, which is Dalam Arabs. Okay? So it's all good. So let's continue, and you have to unpack the tarball. So we're going to go to the mount and extract it. All done. Now from here it says to enter the shroot. So this is the command to enter the shroot. However, remember I was talking about the fstab file? Well, before doing that, I would like to auto-generate it. I don't like personally to just type in everything myself. Everything which is automated for me, it's a good thing. So in order to do that, on the second tab here, I have the KISS Linux Extra. This is a paste bin which is included in the description of this video. You can just go there, and then here, the command is right there, the genfs tab. If you just do that and you highlight it, you can actually go here. You can paste the command. Now, when you paste the command in K1SS tab, this command is included with Arch Linux boot CD. On my first video, somebody decided to boot with Ubuntu, and they told me in the commands that this does not exist. So you have to understand that this demonstration is with Arch Linux, and that command is included. If you decide to choose a different ISO, you're gonna have to install this first in order to make this command. If I press enter and I checked, you can see here that everything is in there. The root is here, and then the boot is there, and here I have the swap. So it's all good. And now from here, I can actually shoot. And it's all done. So I can scroll down. Welcome to KISS Linux, set up official repositories. So the base system contains no repositories. What does that mean? It's basically, there's nothing online on the cloud like Arch Linux where you have all the repositories. Everything is actually into a Git, which you need to download and make everything local. It's fine for now because it's not that big, but you can imagine maybe in the future as this distro evolves, perhaps they will put it on the cloud if it's too much. But for now, that's the great thing about this. After downloading everything, you can just work offline if it's needed to. So that's a good advantage. It tells here to read the KISS path variable, which is needed in order to install with the KISS package. It just tells you here to read it, not to install it. So we're going to install it shortly. So first thing first, obtain the official repositories, but it tells you to clone. Where to clone? Well, this is where here it tells you to read it first. So if you go there, it tells you, what it is, the KISS path, and it gives you an example of where to do things. So that's why it's telling you to read it first and to understand. So where do you want those Git packages to be sitting on your hard drive? Because later on, you're going to do a KISS path, and then you're going to point it to the right direction. So for me, what I will do is I will clone it to var db kiss. And the reason being is very simple. When KISS Linux started, this was the place that they were telling people to put it to. Eventually they changed it and they say you can put it whatever you want. Me, I just like to keep it there as it used to be. So I'm going to put that in there. So I'll do the clone right here. So you see now there's something called repo, and I have core, extra, and Wayland. So now that I know where my stuff is, what it's telling you is to set the KISS path, okay? To make sure that it points to the right place. So let's go back here. And what it tells you to do is to edit this file as an example. But for us, we're going to just use that and do this. Now, to make things a little bit easier again, under my paste bin, if I do the VI, this is pretty much everything that needs to be done, plus some extras that I will actually explain later on. So let me just do this. Go back, VI. So as you can see, you have the export initialized, and then var db kiss repo, and then here core extra Wayland. Those are the threes. And here I will explain to you why I'm putting those exports later on. So I will just save this. And then here under the KISS path is telling you that when it's done, you have to reload it. And to test this, I can do an echo of the variable, and I can see it's all good. So this is really important because that needs to be done in order to install KISS Linux packages. Okay, so I'm going back. And what it tells you to do as well is to enable the signature verification, everything which is related to security from all for it. So, and that's a good thing because here we can test if our variable is working. Let's do an installation of this GNUPG1. Oh, looks like it's working. Before on the previous video that I've made, there were two steps. The first step was KISS build, and then after that you had KISS install. And now it's only showing one. It's because they've decided that if you do a build, it's going to prompt you if you want to install it by pressing enter, and that's pretty much it. So that's going to save you to always do two commands to install something. Please aware that the install command still exists. So if you do KISS install GNUPG1, if you want to reinstall something, that still works. Okay. But just for now, as you can see, do you want to continue? And I will press enter and it's installed. So now that we install this, we can do this GPG command under my repo here. And I imported it and it's time to trust it. As you can see, it's under the root account. Very important to remember that. And it's all done. Now from here, it says to enable signature verification. So again, it says here to cd path to repo. Very important to understand that it is not path to repo. Okay. So very important. It is a var db kiss repo. Okay. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to do this command. All good. Now it says here to rebuild the system. So the system has now been rebuilt. To update its software, apply optimization, and install documentation. So here telling you to do some flags. I don't know if you remember, I've decided to put that into my profile. The reason being is that if I follow those instructions one by one, okay, it's great, it will work. But the next time I will reboot, this will go away. And I would have to do that manually every time I build a package. So instead of doing that, I just decided to put those three lines, this one, and this one, into my profile. That way, every time I reboot, it's going to always be there. All right. So this is already done. And then it says here to update all base packages by doing the KISS update. Now, if we do that, the first thing that it will show is, okay, let's check for everything. And let's press enter. So what it did basically is that it updated the KISS package. So the thing is this, you might be tempted and say, okay, I did the KISS update and just move forward. But really it says in here, rerun the KISS update. So you have to do it twice. This is not unusual. Actually, I don't remember the last time. I only had to do it once. So for this, what I have to do now is I go up, do it a second time, and now it's telling me, okay, now we need base layout and all that good stuff to be updated. And you have to press enter and enter again. So this normally takes a little bit of a while because GCC is quite big, but this is mandatory. This has to be done in order to move forward. So remember, KISS update twice. So we're good. Everything has been updated now. So we can go to the next step. Now here it talks about rebuild all packages. So ideally, what needs to be done is you can go to all your installed packages and rebuild everything. The reason being is that you can optimize all your builds by doing this command to your processor. So that way everything is faster in the long run. Now, because this is a demonstration, I will not do that. But not only that, nothing is worse is to spend 2, 3, or 4 hours to realize that at the end of the day, you made a couple of mistakes and you have to redo it from scratch. This compiling will actually slow you down. You're going to say, oh, I lost like 30 or 40 minutes of my time here. What I suggest people to do instead, especially for the ones who are doing this for the first time, wait until everything is finished and everything works. So I will skip this for now. And here it talks about the kernel. So now it is a time to choose the kernel in order for you to install KISS Linux. Now, One of the good things about Arch Linux, and the reason why I choose it, is because it tries to get the latest kernel available, which is pretty good. Why am I doing this? Because at the end of the day, if I check the version, they have 5.14.8. What it's telling you here is that you should download a kernel. And because of the tricks that I'm going to show you very soon about how to compile a kernel, it is not mandatory, but highly suggested that you use the same version or you download a higher version. But for me, I will choose the same version. It is under kernel.org. Browse a little bit, and 5.14.8. So if I go 5.14.8, 5.14.8. So this one, I will actually copy the link and download it. Now, before I actually do that, I will get out of the repo folder. I just don't want to do that there. Okay. So I will actually do the command curl and download it there. So it's downloaded. I'm going to go back here. Just verify. And it's right here. So I'm going to extract it. And I'm going to go inside it. And I'm right there. He talks here about downloading the firmware blobs. It is not required for this demonstration. I will just skip that. Here it talks about extracting it. Here it talks about configure the kernel. So this is really important. Keep in mind that the distribution does not provide an init RAMFS, nor does this guide include how to use one. Those requiring an init RAMFS should look into this. Because I can find all the drivers that are required in order to boot successfully, I can compile it and put it inside the kernel. There's no need for me to do that. So I will skip this part. Here it talks about making sure that everything is baked into the choices as opposed to module. Now there's a .config file that tells you it's either equal to Y or M. So basically for me, for this demonstration, I will make sure that it's Y and there's no M's, okay? So that way there's no need for init RAMFS, and everything that I need is going to be right into the kernel. So the first step is to make a default configuration. And it's done, and it's saved under .config. In order to interact with this, I need to install ncurses first. So let's do that. Press enter to install. And we're good. Now, if I do this command, it's going to tell me that my screen resolution is actually not adequate, so it's not going to work. Okay, so I need at least 19 by 80. So let me change that first. And let's do this again. And we're good. So the first things we need to do, it's not that complicated. Under general setup, if I go under kernel compression here, I will choose XZ. That's one available for KISS Linux. The default host name, I will put KISS Linux box. And if I go a little bit lower, I was telling you about the init RAMFS. That's not something that we need. So I'm going to press space. I'm going to remove it. Exit. Processor typing features is quite easy. The only thing I have to do here under the processor type, I need to make sure it's Core 2 because that's my processor. Exit. And then if I go a little bit lower, I don't need to touch those for now. Not even file system, not even security. The only thing I need to do at the end is go to kernel hacking and the print K and dmesh option. If I choose that, here I have 744. I will choose 4. 1, 4 instead. That's going to remove all those warning messages when booting. Okay, so I'm going to save this and exit. And that's pretty much it for this. Let me clear the screen. As I indicated in the beginning, there's a reason why I booted with KISS Linux. It's because all the modules that are needed are loaded into the memory. Like, let's say the hardware modules. If I go there, I can see here that the graphic has been loaded here. If I go here, I can see my sound, or I can see USBs, or I can see NIC. All that kind of stuff is being loaded in terms of drivers. So at the end of the day, what should I do? It's okay, I can see this. This is the sound. This is this. This is that. I understand. I can search, while compiling the driver. But there's an easiest way. If you do make local yes config, what I tell is I say, okay, go to my .config configuration file and check everything which have been put as a module and put it as a yes if it's loaded into the memory. And that's it. If it hasn't been loaded into the memory, don't do anything. So let's do this command. This command says this. Okay, I found this module loaded, and I would like to convert it from module to a yes, but I don't have anything. So what does that mean? Well, it means basically that what I have to do is that this module, this module, this module, this module, which is trying to convert, is not existent. So my job is to make it existent. So if you check all those variables, all those booleans, all those modules here, that needs to be configured to make sure that I'm going to have a successful kernel, the job is being done for me. And that's the easiest way I found so far to compile a kernel. The thing is this, on my previous video, I kind of showed a little bit, 4 or 5 maybe of them, and a couple of pointers what to do. And then I moved on with the installation. What I've noticed is that a lot of people after that have decided to follow the video and went to the KISS Linux Reddit site because they're having some issues about how to compile this. And they were booting with a lot of error messages. So what I've decided to do here is instead, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the entire thing. You're probably going to be very bored and probably say, you know what, after a couple of them, I know what to do. But believe me when I tell you this, if you truly want to make this successful and you truly want to install this, I very, very suggest you listen to everything the whole time it's going to take, which I think takes around between 30 to 40 minutes just for that. I could probably make another video just for that, but I don't have enough views, so it's not going to give me any money anyway. So let's do this. We're going to take this one here, and I'm going to copy that by right-clicking. Then I'm going to go make menu config, / right-click. Now, this is what it says. It says, okay, this one, it says no. So I have to put that as a yes. It depends on 2 things, this one and this one. So this one is a no. So eventually I need to turn this on. I need to have this one on. And here, one of the lines should be all yeses. If this one becomes a yes, and this one becomes a yes, then this one will become a yes. It sounds complicated, but it is what it is. Okay, so you have dependencies here, and then we have one of the lines. Now, when you see this, right, and there's no numbers on the left-hand side, you skip it. Okay, you just skip it. Go to the next one. Let's do this one. Config crypto ECDH. / All right, so it's a no, depends of crypto, which is a yes. And then it says if you press 1, right, which is yes, it's going to give you a choice. Let's press 1. See here 1? Let's press 1, right? Oh, I'm going straight there. Space. I do not want any kind of modules. Space again. Perfect. Done. Save. Exit. And do the command local config again. And you will see that what I've created initially, this crypto ECDH, it's not there anymore. Crypto ECDH is actually gone. Okay. So then we can go to another one. CD-ROM here. Menu config, / right click, enter. Oh, there's a number here. Let's check. Yes, yes, good, perfect. Space, space, save, and exit. Good. Let's do it again. Here it talks about the sound codecs. So let me do this here. I know it's going to be a little bit problematic. If I go there, you see, it says no, and then it depends on the sound, and it depends on the sound. So that's good, but then it wants at least the AC97 bus. AC97 bus. There's no numbers. All right, I'm going to skip it. Okay. Now, you see, I talked about EC97 bus. Remember? If you go and you look a little bit, and you look a little bit, and you go down, it's right here, AC97 bus. By the way, everything starts with config, okay, in here. So AC97 bus. Okay, so AC97 bus. Let me check. Oh, AC97 bus, it says no. And you can see the codecs and stuff like that. You see, it's always a little bit complicated. Even if you try to look around, it always gets like that. My suggestion is every time you skip it, don't try to search like this, not unless it's necessary. If it's really necessary, perhaps. But at the beginning, you don't need to. So every time there's no numbers and it gets complicated like this, just skip it. It's the best way of doing that. So let's check here. That's my graphic. Number 1. Perfect. On my GPU. Let's continue. Crypto. One, choose. So I'm going to start to be a little bit faster now, because if I do see a number, most likely, not all the time, it's okay to use it. Sometimes it won't, and if it does, I'll show you what to do. Search, number 1, speaker. I have a controller here. Oh, there's no numbers. I skip. I'm going to do the ones that I know by heart almost, like the joystick here. And my game board. Oh, if I choose my game port right here we go. Here I have my sound. I have the mouse. And here I have another VMware. And here I have a balloon. Now, this is something I'm going to show you. Here it says for the balloon, if I press 1, it shows missed devices. Why is that? The reason being is that in order for me to get to the right location, there's a dependencies which is missing, which is hypervisor guest. Okay. If I get out of there and I check here, there's no hypervisor guest. It does not exist. Hypervisor guest is not there. So I need to make sure that it is available first. Hypervisor guest, right? And I press number 1. And that's hypervisor guest right here. And I save it. So that way, if I go back to my balloon, and now that it's all yeses, I press 1, and now my balloon is actually here. Okay. Now, one of the things that a little bit blows my mind about all this is that with VmWare Workstation, now that I've defined everything that I need to do, there's an option that it needs to be set up and configured properly called FBSet in order for the screen to be alive when it boots. But the option actually here has not been available for me to choose because FBSet hasn't been enabled in all the options that I have here. That's something that I learned with time. So even though you configure the kernel and you go all for it, there's an option that needs to be done at the end. After I do all those things here, there's something I need to go back in order for my VMware graphic to work properly. So I'm going to do all this, but at the end, I will have to go back and make sure that the graphic for VMware works, okay? So I'm going to go there. Now, sometimes I go back to ones that I couldn't have an option. So please forgive me when this happens. That's why I'm going to accelerate a little bit. That way, when I do that twice, it's not going to be a big deal. Normally, the crypto ones are good, except that you need to load up the CRTC10diff. So the CRTC10diff, let me see if I can find it here. Okay, I'm not sure. So let me go there. So yeah, so you can see it's not working. I need this one here. This one. So if I go back here, now I have the option. Squash. Another crypto. A lot of cryptos are available when you do the CRC10 that I just did earlier. Just an FYI. This one is a fun one. Fusion. There's 3 of them here. It's not just one. So you have the FC and the SPI. FC, that's the middle one. That's the first one. That's the first one I have to do. And then the SPI. Oh, that's good. If it says no matches found, that's because I put a space in front of it. So you see here, space I remove. Now it's going to work. So I see the fusion here. And then the third one, SAS. That's experience that tells you what to do first. Here we go. All good. Another crypto. It's good. We have this private key here. So BT needs to be done. Let me check if I have BT somewhere. Right, it's right here. So let me do BT first. And then do this one. Oh, again, I put a space by mistake. Okay, so now the BT is done. Now I need this one or this one. Okay, most likely it's going to be the USB stuff that I have in here, most likely. There's no need to really go all the time and check, oh, okay, I have one here. See, that's one of them, and stuff like that. Normally, you can just go, like I said, you don't have to search. Huh? You just go and go, and you go and you go, and then eventually up, it just does one automatically, and then up, it does another one, and then boop, everything disappears by itself. Okay, just an FYI. So I'm gonna just go here, continue. This one. Oof, that's got to wait a little bit. Here. So I'm going to skip those FPs for now. Okay, so there's a lot of this. Maybe I'll do it. This one looks like there's a lot of them that requires it. Okay. So let's see now. I guess I have no choice. There's so many yeah. Okay. Let me just skip that for now. Use serial raw. We have overlay. So let's do that. So the first one is the variable itself. So I'm going to do that one first. So this needs to be on. And then the second one. Okay, so overlay is finished. Let's do the ATA generic. Okay, so I have a crypto here. We're getting there, huh? We're getting there. Intel here. Image split. Okay, no. BPF preload UMB. And this one. And okay. So there's a couple of FB here. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to do those variables here, okay? Okay, I think I have to do this first. I don't think I have a choice here. So let me do this. Support for frame buffer devices. Then I go back here. Okay, so at least this one is okay. So as soon as I'm going to do those ones below, one of them anyway, I'm going to be fine. At least this one is okay. Wow, a lot of them went out. I mean, I had all those variables, but because I set up this, now only have overlay here. And a lot of them went over. So overlay. Good, good, good. So let's do this one here. So here. Okay, so this one here, let me show you. In order for this to be at yes, okay, you need to have BPF preload as a yes, okay? Really important. If I press 1, it shows here, okay? So that's not gonna happen. Actually, it even tells you here, BPF preload needs to be done. So I have to do this first, okay? BPF preload, and it doesn't work. So what I mean? It's like, okay, what does it mean? Well, in order for this to be available, I need this one too. Okay, for this, I need this one too. Oh, okay, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Okay, so let me go back here. It's not easy. This one is not easy. That's why I saved it for last. Go back there. I need this one there. Press 1. Oh, I don't have it yet. What am I missing? So it says yes, yes, unless it says not. Oh, maybe this has to stay as a no because there's a not. That means not here. Let me see if that's a no. Maybe this is a no. Let me go back. Let me go back and see. Maybe that's what it is. So BPF preload. Yeah, see? So basically here, that means not. Not no gives me a yes. So yes, yes, and that's an and. Not no, which means gives me a yes. So now I have yes, yes, and yes. Now I can press number 1, and now I can choose it. That is not easy. And it's done. Now I have to do this one. I think it's core I have to do first. Oops. Yeah. Think core first. Nope. One chance out of 2, huh? CSC. Okay. And now I have to do core. Okay. So in order for this to work, I need one of those lines to be available. And if you check here, it says module CC does not have any config and so on. So from here, I've pretty much nothing else, right? You would say, well, I don't know what to do. Well, if I go back to CAC, right? Which is this one. Let me go back here. You see memory failure, it is at no. So that's why when I press number 1, I get this, right? So I need to get out of there and I have to do memory failure first. Memory failure here. And then I'm going to go back for the CAC one. It's not easy, huh? It's not easy. Oh, now I have something. And then I can do the core. No, not yet. Let me do the CC again just to make sure. Yeah, I'm good. Let me save and exit to see what it says. And I'm done. That's it. So by doing that option, it actually configured the CSC core automatically. Now we're almost done. You see, there's 2 things that we need to do. Okay. The first one is if I go to the Make Menu Config, if I go to General Setup, if you go down, there's something new that just occurred here, the kernel.config support. After all the options that we've done, this popped up and it's under module. So I need to put that as a star. That's the first thing. Okay. The second thing is my video. I don't know if you remember at the beginning, I said there's going to be a little bit of a problem. If I boot, I'm going to have a black screen. This is what's going on. This is my graphic for VMware. And if I press number 1, earlier I enabled the DRM driver for VMware, but this sub option did not occur yet. And the reason being it did not exist when I put a star and this didn't pop up. It's because the frame buffer was not even configured yet as a variable. Remember, I struggled with the FB all the time? Well, FB was at no, so this option didn't kick in when I put a star. But now that it's set to yes, now I have this option. And this needs to be turned on, or I will have a black screen when I boot up with VMware. And now I'm done. Let me just put back the fonts as it used to be. So here it says to make a copy of the config file. Normally I like to do that after the compilation is successful, but it doesn't hurt to do it now. And I like to put the number. I made a backup. Ensure that config IK header is in the no, or it's being enabled to resolve. I don't have to worry about it. Everything has been all right the way I've did in my demonstration. So this is okay. Now, in order to compile this, it says that you need the Perl, or you can avoid it by doing this patch. I will just do this patch. Okay. Here it says you have to install this. So this is mandatory. You have to do that. And I press enter. The following fix may also need to be applied. I know for a fact that I need to apply this. I will not do it, so I can show you the error message in case it happens to you, so you can remember. This is a command, search and replace. Search inside this file and all that kind of stuff. And this is the key here. If you see decode.c in the compiling problem, then this is the patch that you need to do. So I will skip it for now. And then it says to build the kernel. Now I will do that and show you the problem. And you're like, okay, so what's going on? Well, there was an error message. It's right here. You see all that kind of stuff. This is all problems. I have to scroll up here. So it's right here. See? Decode.c, and then you're getting an error. It's right there. It's right here. Decode.c. Okay. So I will apply this patch. Space, because this means other line, means continue, sorry. And don't forget the underline. That's really important here. There we go. All in one line. Enter. And then this command. Okay. Let's do another make. Now from here, you might be tempted. You know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to do my stuff. It's going to compile for a while. Maybe 30 minutes later, everything is going to be okay. There's something missing in this, and it's not part of the instructions. More and more people are actually writing in Python. And it has been approved to have now Python as part of the kernel in terms of programming and compiling everything. But in this documentation, it doesn't talk about it. It all depends on the options that you use. But one of the options that I've used is the BPF, I believe, if I remember. It's an option that I needed. And this one needs Python. So if you just leave it like that, what's going to happen is that it will give you an error message saying that it hasn't been compiled properly because you're missing Python. And then it goes for a while. It goes for quite a while. And then only at the end, it doesn't work. And if you try to scroll back up, you don't see it because it's going to do that for such a long time after it says Python does not exist. It's going to compile for so much. You don't have enough terminal buffer to go back up and you don't know what happened. Okay. So I'm going to show you here what happens when you have the Python error message. I will cancel, the setup, install Python, and then after that, it's going to compile properly. But this one, it's a little bit tough because it's hard to know that. So the error message just passed, right? Now, if I just let it go, it's going to take a while, right? Before it actually just stops and you don't know what happened. So Control C. And it's right here. It's like I said, the BPF here. So it's trying to compile that. And it says, I cannot compile this module because I need Python 3. So it's kiss build Python. Don't put the 3, just Python. Enter. Press enter. And now I can compile. And you can see the BPF, here we go. It just compiled successfully. So from there, that's going to take probably 30 to 40 minutes, depending on what kind of PC you have. But thanks to the magic of video editing, we don't have to wait that long. So as you can see, it's been compiled successfully. And you know that because it says that the BZ image is ready. Okay. So I will actually go past the make command here. And it says here that you have to install the kernel. And if everything has been set up successfully, you should actually not have any kind of modules. But just in case, we're going to actually do it. Here we go. Everything is installed successfully. And basically it just says that every module will be actually installed there, but I have nothing. Okay, so no problem. Everything is good. And then you have to install it. And it says in here, a little error may appear, which it did, but this is normal, so we don't have to worry about this. And then we have to move the kernel to a different name. Actually, I shouldn't say move, I should say rename, but with Linux, there's no such thing as rename. Well, actually it does. Actually, you need to install it, but that's beyond the point. Okay, so boot. And the name of the kernel. So if you do ls boot, you can see those two are there. So it talks here about install the required packages. What does it mean? Well, you know, if you go and you install the base init here, for example, right, which will be your init system. Let's do that first, because that's the one we choose. It tells you can choose whatever you want, but for this demonstration, we'll just do the one that comes with KISS Linux. It's much easier here. Press enter, and that's done. Now here it talks about, you know, the bootloader. So we're going to do here Grub, not UEFI stub. It's a little bit complicated. Just Grub, it's much easier. So in order to do that, you have to open a new tab, you know, this link. So the Grub here, I need to install Grub first. Press enter to install. And done. Now, because I'm booting UEFI, I need to install this as well. Enter, and it's done. And to set up the configuration and everything, it's not BIOS, so I'm going to skip. And I'm going to do UEFI, import to read, replace ESP with the UEFI mount, typically boot. All right, so here you don't put this command, you don't put ESP, you have to put /boot in our case. So I'm going to do this. And this, I'm going to replace the ESP. And this. Installation finished, no error reported. Grub has been installed, and now the configuration file. All good. All right, so we're good with that. So I'm going back here. File system utilities. Now, if you check here, let's say the DOS FS tools, and if you check on the bottom, it will actually create files like fsck.fat, and this is actually something that the init files will do with KISS Linux. So if you get an fsck while you boot and it says file or folder not found, it's because this has not been installed. And it is the same thing with E2FS progs. So here, basically, it's telling you, okay, you know, you should or should not maybe use this. Well, for me, I'm using VFAT for my UEFI, and I'm using ext2 here. So I have no choice to install both of them. So let's start with the first one, the E2FS progs. Quite easy, just do this. Enter. So this one is done, right? And the DOS FS tools. Right here. And enter. Okay. So those two are done. So Wi-Fi is optional. I don't need it because it's a VM, so I'm going to skip that part. The DHCP, yeah, I mean, it's optional, but I mean, if you use a static IP addresses, obviously you're not going to use that, but most of the people will use the HTTP/CD, so I will do that. Installation. And enter. Now, after you install this, if you continue, right, nothing unusual will happen. And if you boot, it's going to be okay, but it will not start automatically. And it doesn't give you any kind of hints of that. So if you install this and you reboot, you're not going to have an IP address. Unless, of course, you manually type DHCP/CD. By reading the wikis and stuff like that, there's something called service management under the wikis. So under service management, it tells you about what to do to start services at boot by using the the unit system that KISS Linux provides. So if you check here, it tells you the command that you need to do, right? Again, if I go back to the extra instructions, I put that in there. If you go here, that's one command. And that will start it. Having that said, there's a little bit of a problem with the HTTP/CD. After it boots, it will give you a lot of warning messages and normal messages that's going to hide your login prompt. Actually, it's kind of funny because if you go to the KISS Linux here, somebody actually talks about it. DHCP/CD messages a login screen. And if you go there, it shows you what happens. Everything boots, everything is good, right? And then after that, it gives you no such user DHCPD, and then it gives you all this. And then actually here it says the TTY, which is in there. The KISS login is right there. But it's, anyway, this is how it looks like, okay? So there's a way to fix this problem. And to do that, if you go back here, you have to edit this file. And this line here, this line here will be replaced by this instead. I'm adding this greater than dev null. And if you do that, it will not show you all those messages, okay? So that's a little bit of a trick. And let me save this. And now the DHCPD has been installed successfully. This is not easy, huh? All right, let's continue. Post installation, change the root password. If you forget to do that, you won't be able to log in as root. Add a normal user. And it's all done. Now, when you go to reboot, do not log in as this normal user. That's because the packages of KISS Linux will only load and install successfully under the root account. I don't know if you remember, we sign under the root account and the profile loads under the root account. If you log in as the user and you try to do anything, it's going to just blow, okay? So you don't do that. And here it talks about, installing the graphical session. I'm going to skip that part. I would say if you want to give it a shot, have a blast. But I would say don't do that at first. I mean, this is way too much to do, a lot. And then after that, you figured it out, something went wrong. So you skip that part. And then after that, after you boot and log in successfully, verify a couple stuff, make a backup of your VM, and then you can give it a shot. Okay. Talks to you about a couple of wikis to read, okay, including the host name and stuff like that. And if you have any questions to contact, obviously, I would say go to the KISS Linux Reddit site first. And then pretty much that's it here. So I'm going to exit and reboot. So this works. I press enter. And everything worked perfectly. So there's no error messages before welcome to KISS. My checking file system works, and there's no DHCP messages. So I log in as root, and let's ping. As you can see, it works. Now, if I do, let's say, this, so I can check my hardware, I can see here that my sound is okay, my graphic is in there, my Ethernet is in there, and my USB is in there. So if I clear this and I do an fdisk, you can see this is my 20 gig partition. I'm going to connect my USB. Okay. And I will do the same command again. And you can see at the bottom, my USB key is being read successfully. Let's check the sound here. Oh, you hear the beep, so that's good. Now, if I do an installation, let's say Vim. Yep, everything looks great. I mean, it's loading. And I press enter. So it's been installed successfully. So if I do Vim profile, yep, everything works. And you can see it's actually very low in resources. Well, this is the end. As you can see, an installation of KISS Linux is not something easy to do, but it is possible, and it is very, very custom-like and very lightweight as well. You choose, the boot, you choose the init system, you choose the kernel, you choose pretty much the packages that you want to install after the baseline has been there. It's a very, very custom operating system. That way you make it your own. And this, I think it's great for people who do distro hopping all the time. If you do distro hopping all the time, I think this is something that you should give it a shot, because at the end of the day, it is really something that you want to provide and make it your own from everything. Having that said, the really strength of KISS Linux, it's its community and the packages being available for everyone else. If you decide to give it a shot, I probably would say, give it a shot, construct some packages, make it available under Git for the other people to use. And then as more people get involved, the more this operating system will become more and more popular. Okay. So I hope this video was very, very, very good for you, as it was for me to make. And, please subscribe and click like, so that when people, want to search about how to install KISS Linux, they get this video, which I think would be a great help to anyone. Okay. Thank you very much and take care.